Okay, welcome to the Plus Ones podcast with me, James O'Keefe, and this week I've got a little bit of a cheeky special guest for you. He's not really a plus one, but he kind of is, but we've kind of skewed it because he's just a top geezer, and I wanted to get him on the show to give a different aspect on being a kind of a different plus one in a different way. So welcome, Mr. Paul Sculfor.
Thank you very much, sir.
Really appreciate you coming on, mate. Absolute, what an honour. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks for asking me, James.
So yeah, getting in straight into the plus one, kind of vibe you were. You were kind of the plus one in a quite a mad industry.
Yeah, because we spoke about it, didn't we? And I just said, really, male models are a plus one in primarily a female business. Absolutely. So yeah, I kind of think that fits the category.
That's a mad one. If people don't know, and some of you won't because that's just how life is, but Paul was still is a big deal model wise, in the industry, and it was kind of categorized as the only male supermodel, which is that's quite an accolade, no?
Back in 1976.
For like an East End boy, you know what I mean?
Back in 1966. Yeah. I mean, you get titles and people say stuff. I think I'm not sure what magazine it was in, but it's been a wonderful journey, and to get little titles like that is actually nice. I know people
the
be
$1 million
like,
face. I've read that one. It's true. He is a damn good looking guy. It's a little bit
like
intimidating, but let's go. Let's go with it. Me and Jay are like, oh no, he's right showing us up today. We've both got our head protectors on though, because let's not talk about hair at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
no,
we're keeping it well under wrap. So let's go all the way back. Talk to me. How did it all start? How did we talk about
life?
But a lad, young lad from Upminster.
Yeah.
How the hell were you going around the catwalks of the world? What's that all about?
No idea. Yeah, it's funny. It was really funny. I was shopping down the King's Road when I was 19, and I got asked 3 or 4 times. I guess it's called scouting now, but at the time I just asked, would I like to be a model? And I would be like, no,
did you? Interesting.
Yeah. And I was boxing at the time. I had no idea about the fashion industry. The only person I ever knew was a guy called Zane O'Donnell. And the reason I knew him, because I was into motorbikes. And he was in my mum's catalogue, in Freeman's catalogue, in the motorbike section.
Freeman's catalogue.
And I was like, this guy's cool, look at him. And he had a broken nose and a bit of a misty eye, Zane. And he was a proper man's man looking.
Right.
I thought, I want to be like that guy. And weirdly...
was that when you were 19?
Yeah.
Right.
So I had no idea about modelling at all, apart from this. Only image I knew of a model, and I really thought he was cool and stuff like that. And weirdly, my first job in San Diego was with Zane.
Don't.
I was so starstruck. I was like, oh my God.
That's mad.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
So strange.
Yeah.
Kind of set like, I'd love to be like this guy. No idea about the career, no idea what it took. Amazing. Really lovely guy, South African guy. Cleared up. He was a big model, but he was just really cool. And I remember we was being by the pool, and a guy called Simon Clark, the Mont Blanc.
I do.
Beautiful looking man.
Yeah.
He's a couple of years older than me, Simon.
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy too.
Yeah.
He was on the job. So I was like, wow, these two
with
dudes.
The boys.
Literally. And I was just a bit too young to drink, so they took me over to Tijuana in Mexico, which is a good thing, I guess. And then we was late for work, and I got nearly kicked off the job, and I had no idea. I was just following what these guys were doing.
The young buck with the two lions.
Yeah, honestly. But they're really cool guys, and Zane was into Zen meditation at the time, and Simon was into motorbikes, and I was like, it was so far out of my circle. But I learned a lot from it. I was like, wow, this is such a cool business, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it.
It must have been that whole thing must have been a weird thing, because to go from I'm presuming a pretty tough upbringing, which we'll get into, to boxing and all of that, to then be, putting makeup on and
For a living.
prancing around. You know, to give that over, it must have been quite.
Yeah, it was strange. So going back to the King's Road, finally this woman said to me another time, look, can I take some pictures of you? I'm a photographer. I was like, yeah, sure. And she was cool. And she said, I'll take you into an agency. So she took me to, at the time, an agency called So Damn Tough.
Okay.
And I went in there and I had acne, skin, like red spots and
Is
stuff
it?
on my face.
Okay.
Yeah. Only for about a year, but it was in that time. And they said, no, you can't come in. We're not interested, too young. The lady took some pictures, which I still have, just dressed in denim against the wall. And I thought it was quite cool. She was nice. Still didn't really get it, but I thought, well, I just got to stand here. And then she suggested that I go to Models One, which Davina McCall was the head booker at the time.
Was she?
Yeah.
No way.
And so I went in there and was like, you know, just saying, all right, what's going on?
Like
no idea. Yeah. And they took me on for a little while. My skin was still bad. So she said, look, he's no good. We can't take him on. And she, funny enough,
damn you, Davina.
I know, but she said, I think it was on Jonathan Ross. I was told that she said he asked her what was the worst career move, and she said turning Paul Sculfor down for Models.
No, did she?
Yeah, which is really nice for her to say.
Wicked.
But yeah, so she done me a huge favour, really, because I went back to doing what I was doing, and then I had an appendicitis. My appendix burst, and my mum, I took to hospital. I was in it for a couple of weeks, and at the end of the last week, she said, "Here's a brown envelope. I entered you into a competition. You're now one of the finalists." I'm like, "Finalist for what?" But it was a modelling thing. I was like, "Oh, thanks, Mum, but I'm all right." Anyway, when she went, I read it, and it said, "You can win a holiday for 2 weeks and a new wardrobe or something like that." I was like,
"What?
Do you know what? I might do it."
Just for taking a few pictures?
Yeah.
What?
So I went to Limelight's nightclub. Turned up, took a friend's sister because I had no idea what I was doing. Went to this place and there was like the best looking blokes all shredded and girls, and I was like, maybe I should go home. Gary Stretch was a panellist, a boxer.
Mate, he was a good looking boy as well, wasn't he?
Very
I mean, like,
good-looking boy. Did all the boss campaigns.
Yeah.
Good fighter as well.
Yeah.
And a nice bloke.
Yeah.
So he was on the panel.
Yeah.
He said, "What'd you do?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, a bit of boxing stuff." And we just gelled. He was really cool. And all we had to do was walk up and down, and I guess they wanted your character, take your shirt off for one thing, and I was in good shape because I was boxing.
Yeah.
And I won it, and I was like, "Oh, well, that's cool. I get a holiday, get some clothes." Didn't think anything of it, and the agency kept phoning me. And I was like, "When do I get my holiday?" They're like, "You have to work first." I was like "I just want to go on holiday." Yeah. And anyway, I did the Face magazine with Lisa Snowden. Was my first job.
Gosh, she was massive.
She was great. Yeah, really cool cat as well.
Seemed like a nice lady.
It was brilliant. I was like, "Wow, this is amazing. You get paid for this." So I started to turn up and do a few castings, and most of the things I was going for, I was getting. I was like, "This is amazing. This is actually really cool." And the people were really cool. My agent Tandy sort of took me to restaurants. She's like, "Have you ever eaten here before?" I was like, "No." She's like, "Do you know how to eat properly?" I was like, "Not really," with all the cutlery at the time. So she taught me how to eat and dress and stuff, and
mental.
It was an amazing journey. Yeah.
It must be. The thing is, I always think like that as well. The shit I went through when I was young. If someone had offered me that, I'd be like, "Do I want to go that path or do I want to go that?"
Yeah.
Like, you know.
And I debated it.
Well, you would as a I think you would as a bloke, as a blokey bloke. You know what I mean? You know, you're boxing and you're in that. You know, you kind of that East End kind of world, and you know all of that. It must have been quite a thing. Did people take the piss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a 2-year period of a complete internal battle. Because I had all my old friends, and when we used to go down the pub, like, "Oh, where have you been? Fucking Milan wearing dresses again," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I laughed it off.
Yeah.
But really, I was like, it's such a stretch.
Yeah.
The business was so different for me. You know, a lot of gay guys in the business, everyone's wearing makeup or blokes wearing dresses and this and that. And at the time, I was like, it's so weird. But I'm attracted to it because it's so freeing and fun and different from where I'm from. You know, it's quite narrow-minded, and there was strong opinions which wasn't mine, but I took them on thinking they was mine. And all of a sudden I was in this big new playground where people were sharing, they was having fun.
They're nice and they're all this.
Yeah.
They're not like what they said they. That's the thing, isn't it? They're black, they're white, they're gay, and you're like, but they're just normal, lovely people. It's
completely different.
weird,
world.
yeah.
Everyone's from different countries,
Yeah,
different cultures, different places, and it was amazing for me. It was like a school. It was like, wow, really cool. So the battle was. It felt really heavy where I was from, and I was being taken the mick out of for going where I wanted to go. And I made a mistake. I did a fragrance in the beginning. It was a lot of money. Like I could buy a house with it, one day's work. And I told one of my mates, I was like, dude, I can't believe I just got enough money to buy a house. I'm like early 20s. It's crazy. And he took it like I was boasting, took it complete wrong way, which was not what I was saying. I was so excited.
He's one of your boys, yeah. You want to be like,
since I was 13, doing milkman, buying and selling cars and motorbikes just to get what I want to get.
Yeah.
And I was so gutted about it. I was like, never spoke about money again, never spoke about what I was doing again, never offered to bring anyone to work, to a premiere, to anything. Completely shut it off.
Yeah.
Still kept a few friends, but I was like, you know what? If you're not celebrating with me, then
you got to leave.
Yeah,
you got to leave them behind.
So
you got to.
I moved to Milan, moved to Paris, and I was off then.
How is that? How is that like a lad from? Because it's a weird one because we've been talking a bit, before we did, we just kind of turned over and we kind of had a lot of similars, in our upbringings. It's just weird things that happen, like it seemed like we were both, on quite a mad,
well-behaved, delicate little souls, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it just seems such a mad thing, like this kid from East London, ex-boxer and all of this stuff, and then just next thing you know he's in Milan. I mean, how do you deal with that? How did you just not go mental in that way, or did you for a bit?
I saw a golden opportunity to get out of Dodge, and there's nothing wrong with where I'm from.
No, yeah.
But I just wanted to grow. There's always something inside me that wanted to do things and grow. I did gymnastics and trampoline.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah,
football, and then this. I'm like just feed
soak it up.
Stuff.
You want, yeah.
And I wasn't someone who would just wanted a 9 to 5, save up, get a house, and do.
Why do you
that
think?
stuff.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. It's an energy inside of me, just because there's a big world out there, isn't there?
Is there someone you used to look at and go, either I don't want to be like that or I do want to be like that? Can you remember?
I do remember my mum's dad, who was like a decorated sergeant in the army. Really a tough man, not in acting stuff, but he was a strong, tough man. But he had a big heart, gentle, caring. He used to take my mum and her sister to Spain when they was 12, like drive around France, then Spain, then Portugal, and educate them, taught them languages. And I wanted to be, he was my kind of...
Right, so you saw that, okay.
Yeah, and in other parts of the family, used to see like drunk fights and crazy stuff. And I was like, no, there's a better way for this, and you can just tell by people's conversations. And like I said, it's a big world out there. And I was always curious. I would sit there as a kid thinking, someone would talk about eternity. I'm like, what is that? It's not a fragrance, or it is a fragrance. But
this isn't
how does that work? What's eternity? Yeah. I was always asking questions, and no one had the answers. It was really frustrating.
Did you do well at school?
I did well at school when I liked the teacher.
That is
so.
Wow. Did you have to respect the teacher? Was there something like
there had to be a mutual? I had a weird thing about I just don't want to be a number in the class when you're a number. So if I had some sort of rapport with the teacher, and I didn't want to, respect me, but I was an athlete in school, and what I used to find difficult was if you don't do this, we'll pull you from the team. And I was really good in most sports. And it's what I excelled at. And the school was like, well, if you don't do your times table. You can't do that. And I didn't like the punishment thing. I thought, well, how about being encouraging and helping me do that? And I can do that for you too. So I was a bit rebellious in, the punishment thing. So I remember having an English teacher called Mr. Bowles, who's not with us anymore, and he was amazing. He was an odd guy, right? He had long hair and stuff, and he just wore the same clothes every day. Clearly different clothes, but he had the same wardrobe.
Why are them teachers,
with
man?
the old brown Clarks shoes, right?
Yeah.
And everyone used to give him a bit of stick. And my mum was in a London hospital for a year. She was really ill.
Okay.
And
wow.
When she came out, I asked him how he was about something, and so he asked about my mum, and I asked him, and he said he had cancer. And as soon as I looked him in the eyes and he said it made me emotional now. I was like, oh my God, he's a human being. He's a really nice man. And from that moment, I worked my arse off in his class, came straight to the top of the class, would finish my work before, and just be like, give me some more food. So I had that in me. But if I rebelled against the teachers,
it's a mad one with the teachers. I had a teacher called Mrs. Blowers, and she actually came to my dad's funeral when I was 16, and sent me a card. And that I'll always be thankful for that. I've still got the card. That she wrote out. I'm really sorry for your loss, and Mrs. Blowers, and I gave her hell at school, not because I hated her or whatever. I was just so wild, so angry. So we had, problems at home and all the usual. But she was like this rock. She was just an amazing woman. I don't know if she's still alive, and I would like to find her and just go and grab her and give her a hug when we can. You know what I mean? But it's
a kind gesture makes a massive impact on people,
mate. Yeah,
huge.
Yeah, Bev's the same. Bev has had teachers where, she just, she'll go and visit him in Wolverhampton, our music teacher and stuff like that. They changed the course of someone's life. So, just remember that, teachers out there. You've got kids' lives in your hand and adults' lives. We're both getting emotional about talking about teachers 30 years ago or whatever. 30-ish years, maybe.
Speak for yourself. Yeah. Was you writing out a stone as
well? Mate, does it frighten you when you go, yeah, I remember that 35 years ago?
We had three Apple computers for the whole school. Remember the cream ones, black buttons with one red button? We're trying to learn how to program. I was like, hey, I'm sure it's going to take off.
Mate, imagine what, I can't even remember when the internet. I can't remember when the internet was there all of a sudden. A lot of people can remember.
I remember. I'll tell you why I remember about emails, because I was on a job for Bose. Is it Bose tapes or Dax tapes? Remember there was an image of someone sitting in a chair with his hair back.
Yeah.
So I did that.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was in Bayswater.
Right.
And the guy, it was in his own Muse house. He was a really smooth dude. He was probably our age now. Really cool guy. Pulls up in a really nice car, comes in, and was talking about doing his emails. And I was like, emails? Tell me about it. He's like, well, I just save sending a letter, or I send this thing and it can wait on your computer. And I was like, wow, okay, cool.
How old were you then?
39. No, I'm joking. I was probably like 20 or something like that.
Funny how you can remember. I love hearing people, when they recollect that. I just can't recall stuff like that. I hate that sometimes.
Put it this way, our agency at the time had a round table, like most model agencies, with files in the middle with your name on it.
Yeah.
So they'd say, yeah, if the phone rang, so we want to talk to Paul Sculfor, get a booking, they'd just pull the file out and say, okay, yeah, he's free, and mark it.
Yeah.
And Select was quite late getting onto computers, because Tanda, the owner, doesn't like that sort of thing. She's like, wait, just pen and paper's the best thing, that kind of stuff. So that was quite behind for a while.
Yeah.
But I know, I vividly remember that.
Wow, that's cool. It is a mad world with tech now. You know what I mean? What would kids be without the internet now?
My little one, she's great. We limit their time, but the study is that they should go on to phones and screens.
Yeah.
And what really matters is the time when they're off of it.
Yeah.
Do you engage as a parent? Do you talk to them about and stuff like that? So we let them, and the little one's hilarious, because I got my father an iPad so we could FaceTime through the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
And when there was a gap before we could go around there, she was like, "No, you do it like this." She's 3, scrolling through.
Do they do the thing? Do they do the thing where there's only that bit of their head?
Yeah.
All old.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, it don't matter how old.
2 bits of hair hanging up.
No, mum, tip it down a bit. What? I can't. Like, and it's
Put it
up
on
their
the table.
nostril.
Yeah.
It's like it. Yeah, I love that. Both my mum and stepdad and Bev's mum, they're like.
It must be a really foreign thing. If you think like my father, he's
My mum's
83.
pretty good on it though. Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah. How old's
He's
you?
getting
How
it
old's
now.
your dad?
He's like 83, 84.
Okay, yeah.
If you think they've gone through a currency change,
Mate.
right,
Yeah.
decimals, then they've gone through so many things, the end of the war and changes,
innit? Yeah.
telephones, computers, everything.
Colour TV.
Yeah.
What? They were like.
Yeah,
That-
completely.
that-
4
it's-
channels to like 5 million channels.
Yeah, the last 100 years of like, technology's been insane.
Yeah.
You know, it has been insane. So, talking about your dad, how was your, you know, tell us a bit about your, your young childhood. What set, Mr. Sculfor up? Tell us about a little bit about
idea.
that.
I think
Yeah,
I did see
born
my
in
dad a
Upminster,
lot.
weren't you? But
Yeah, so
yeah.
my dad was from Canning Town,
Mm-hmm.
which is the poshest part of London, I believe.
Allegedly.
Apparently, he said,
Kennington.
Yeah.
As well.
well, my dad speaks really well. Doesn't swear or anything because he was taken away during the war like most people. I forget where he was, somewhere with his sister. And they left him there for 3 or 4 years. And then when he come back, he was so unwell and undernourished and whatever after a duration in London because he had a hard time.
Mm.
I think his dad was really tough. I knew my granddad, and he was, I wouldn't want my dad's upbringing basically. And he was sent away to a convalescent home, and he stayed there for a few years. And the guy who ran it was fond of my dad, and in there, all the vegetables you had to eat raw, and you had meat like a couple of times a week. So all the stuff that people are doing now, like macrobiotic and farm to plate
Raw
and stuff
and
like
yeah.
is what
Organic
he did. So he's never really been. He never sounded like an EastEnder, really. My father, funny enough, but he's a good man, but he's just so disciplined. Like I remember, I was riding through the forest on my motorbike, and the neighbour jumped out thought it was funny, and I hit him, come off, and I took all the skin off my left side all the way up here, and I had like stones all down it. So someone went and got my dad, and he came over, and instead of going, "Oh my God, are you okay? Should we get an ambulance?" He went, "Right, pull yourself together, get on that bike, and go home and shower." So it was that kind of love. You know what I mean?
Tough love.
Yeah,
That's
but
not
my mum was
yeah.
the opposite. So it was. I
Don't
didn't
be mean
appreciate
to
it for
him.
a time,
Oh.
but I understand where he's coming from now. You know, my dad's not a hugger. I hugged him once, I think, in my life. We shake hands, and that's
Really?
yeah. And I used to fight him about it, be like, "Come on, man!" But I get it now, and I understand. So I'll do that with him. You know,
Is that, and how are you now with your kids? Has it made you the other way?
100%.
Right. Because some people don't, do they? Some people continue that,
No.
their parents were this, so then I'm that, but
I
you've
think
gone.
I think in some aspects I'm lucky that from leaving and traveling a lot, and for years I've lived everywhere in America and Europe and seen so many things and really wanted to bring on board and learn what's good, bad, right, wrong, whatever it is, and just different cultures. I feel really blessed that I've pulled as much as I can together to learn for my kids. I'm not a pushover. They're only 3. I'm not a pushover, but there's ways of doing things, and trying to show
That's not what
love.
That's not what Fedi said.
No, yeah, well, it's my version.
She reckons your little girls have got you.
They have. No, they have, of course, yeah. But
She reckons it's like that, Daddy, and that's it.
I'm a little-
No, I know.
it's like
This big old softie.
I am, but I
Yeah.
won't not discipline them if
No,
there's something going
yeah.
on. For example, yesterday we had the yes or no routine, which is like, would you like pasta? Yes. What one would you like? So she wants broccoli pasta. We make the broccoli pasta. I don't want that. Okay, but you said you want it. Yeah, but I don't want it. Okay, I'll take it away. I want my pasta. Where's the pasta? And you go for a little
Really?
ritual for about
Is it?
a couple of minutes, yeah, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
no, you're not having it. So I'll put it away. And she'll cry and say, right, if you're going to do it, I'll take her upstairs.
Yeah.
So we,
Yeah.
you know, we're not silly.
Manners are good. Like I think, you know, I think it's, you have to. I've always been the same with my niece and nephews and all of that. It just, you know, just yes and no. You know, sorry, please and thank you. You know, all of those things. Don't, you know, just let's sit at the table. Don't get up from the table. Just ask. You know, all of those little things. Just I think, you know, eat properly. Yeah. Don't like, you know, all of those things. I just think, you know, even though I don't, but you know, it's do as I say, not as I do.
No, it's really do as you do, and I've really learnt that. I mean,
monkey see, monkey do, isn't it? Yeah, with kids, I bet it is.
Seriously, so you have to be disciplined in that way. When you're like, I want to lay down, eat nachos, and just look at someone on Instagram or whatever, can't do it because it's just they'll do it, you know.
Kids,
so,
yeah.
But that's my personal view. Everyone has their own thing.
Yeah,
I've got friends who like just hang their kids upside down on a lampshade and let them watch TV or whatever for hours. Depends.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to say anything. You know, I don't know. You know, at the end of the day,
I'm
so
learning
who knows?
to go along.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you know, we can't. If we learn from
kind
our
and
parents,
love.
we're in trouble.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
like,
exactly.
no, my mum's great. You know, my dad. You know, he was a difficult one, bless him. You know, but you know, an alcoholic. It wasn't the best to learn from, but. You know, you kind of learn from their mistakes, I think. Like you say.
Yeah, if you're present enough, you can do, or you can just fall asleep and go down that same route. You know, and again, not dissing anyone because I've done stuff which my dad's done and et cetera, et cetera. He used to have an awesome temper. And I found myself in my teenage years sometimes when I was frustrated being the same. Is that
why you got into boxing? How did the route go?
No, that was the opposite, actually. My dad's cousins used to own a boxing club, Lions Gym.
I've heard of that. Yeah. Where's that?
It was down the A128. At the time, I don't know if it's still there now. I haven't spoken to them for a long time. I know one of them died, and there's a whole other story of one of them. So I really wanted to learn how to box.
What age was that?
12.
Right. Because this is after you did gymnastics and all that, which is, I think, personally, for a kid, is an unbelievable thing to do. Especially for physique. I bet that was where your physique came from.
Not just that, physique,
discipline,
100%.
Flexible, movement.
Awareness, space awareness, and awareness of your body. Where you are. It's amazing. I love that. That's something I really loved. And I love the idea and the feel of floating and going upside down off the box. And
I think every fighter, if I know this is a bit weird, but if I had a kid, and this is why I haven't got kids because I'm insane, but I'd have them in different stages in different lives. They'd be like a fucking monster by the time they were 16 of like, you know, male or female. If I had a kid, they'd be like a monster by the time they were 16. They'd be like a jiu-jitsu black belt, gymnast, you know what I mean? They wouldn't,
I get it. I mean, I've never been able to sit still. Anyway, so instead of watching TV, you'd see me going. I used to walk on my hands up and down lengths of the garden, just doing it.
Can you
just
still
to
do
get
it?
Strength, probably.
Oh, nice.
I'm not going to do it here though.
Yeah, I was going to say
it might snap
on the table. Come on, yeah.
I can actually still do it, but
wow.
It's just muscle memory. But I used to do it just lengths of it. I used to love it, finding my own balance and doing stuff. You know, it's probably what you do. Self-study when you're older. I was just doing it then.
I've been trying to do it for ages to get that really well. Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, it's not getting right. I'm shit at
it's
stuff.
balance,
like
not strength.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's all a centre bit.
Yeah, I know. You'll have to show me afterwards.
I'll try. Give me a walk.
But yeah, you went through the gymnastics. Well, how did you get? Let's go back. How did you get into that? Who got you into that?
I wanted to do it.
That's mad. It's like
just wanted to do it. Just. My dad used to watch gymnastics all the time. My dad, actually, funny enough, is kind of unusual that because of his upbringing, and he went to this place, his convalescent home, because he was so undernourished and he was just unwell, small, tiny. The guy there said, "There's this new kind of sport called bodybuilding. You should try it." And my dad was like, "Okay, fine." And there was an old gym that they started doing. Redbridge Roundabout, so he'd go there, and he actually come third with Arnold Schwarzenegger for Mr. London, my dad, because his religion still now, he doesn't do weights anymore because he's 84, but he still does band work, and you'll see, I'll go around and he does a proper full-on band workout. I mean, it's amazing.
What? You said, I mean, you were telling me earlier about him doing the breathing and the cold water.
Yeah.
What? How many years ago?
In 1950s, 60s. And he did yoga before anyone done yoga.
What? That's insane.
So you know, like the yogis when they do the side thing with their stomach.
Yeah,
he
I
has
try
full
and do.
control.
Yeah, I try and do that.
Yeah,
every
so
morning,
he can
but
wave
not.
it that way, like properly, and then wave it up and down.
Man,
that
he's
way.
like Hickson Gracie.
I had no
like
idea at the time. And he wrestled and stuff. He'd done lots of stuff, my dad.
No way.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah, it was cool
what's his background? His origin of? Is he English?
Yeah, they are, but his family name, we don't know where it came from. We can't trace it back after a certain time. So I'd actually like to do that properly.
Yeah.
We can't. My mum's you can trace back to 1600s in Devon, but my dad, the name Sculfor was unusual. We found out it could be an old Scandinavian name, or if you put an E on it, it could be Italian, but I don't know. My dad's dad was a bit of a mystery, so we don't really know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is an interesting.
But I think because of him, like we was talking before, you saying he was a fat kid and stuff and you train out, I think where he was so undernourished and weak and probably put down and, you know, lots of other stuff, that he wanted to be strong in himself. And he was, and he still is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like his discipline. It's great. So I've learnt a lot from him. And he's not someone who talks about it. He just does it.
It's weird as well. He didn't put it onto you, or he didn't. That's mad. Like.
No, nothing. Like I'd go upstairs when I was a kid and he'd just be doing like tons of sit-ups and foot things, and then I'd hear him in the punch bag in the garage.
But wouldn't say anything. Come on, son.
No.
That's mad, isn't it? But that obviously rubbed off on you.
Yeah, no.
Which is what again we just talked about. Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
Maybe that's. I don't know, because I'd be a pushy parent. Bad. That's another reason why I haven't got kids. I'd be a pushy parent. So, you know, and it's.
You need to own your own gym.
I did.
Did you? Oh, well, there you go. That makes sense.
I did, yeah.
That makes
In Tottenham. So when I used to fight, you know, MMA, I got into jiu-jitsu. We went to a place there, EKBJJ, my friend Eddie, and we got friendly and decided to open a gym. And I started doing MMA because I just didn't, you know, like you just that energy and that, you know, I had that anger as well. I had to get out and then
So that's what you're saying. So with the boxing, it wasn't anger.
Yeah.
We went to I went to Tony's gym and saw everyone fighting. It was amazing. They're wrapping their hands up, and the boys was in the ring. And my dad said, "Do you want to fight?" And I was like, "Sure." So I don't know how they managed it, but they put me in for a fight. Right? I've never had one before. In a place called Ockendon, which is sort of Thurrock way. It's pretty rough around the edges, and the gym was right in the middle. And we went in there, and I remember jumping in this ring. Thinking,
are you nervous?
Right.
Do you know, like, can you
Not at the
remember?
time. Well, I can. I didn't have the experience. I thought you just go in and punch the life out of someone. So I jumped in there, and this kid whooped my ass. I couldn't get him. I was like, what is he doing? You know, he just move a little bit, move out of the way a little bit like that. And I was trying to get him. I got so frustrated, I cried. So my dad was like, right, okay. If you want to train, you've got to train. They took me to Dagenham Gym. And I trained really hard. And I trained really hard because I wanted to know what was that guy doing where I couldn't get him. You know, and I didn't mind getting hit. He hit me quite a few times. I didn't mind that. And I think that was because the adrenaline was going. And it was just, I want to do what you're doing. I trained really hard and used to spar down there and I actually really enjoyed it.
What, this is 12, 13,
No, this was
14.
now 13, 14.
Yeah.
And then I went to a little gym called Alma in Harold Wood.
Oh, my mate boxes at Harold Wood.
Really?
John, yeah.
It was 5-star and it was Alma.
5-star, he boxed at 5-star.
So
I used to go and
5-star was
train
down the
there.
road.
Yeah, still there, yeah.
That was the gym that was officially gym. We had like a little school hall thing. And they're now called Warriors. But there was an old guy called Roy. And he was amazing, like the guy at the Rocky films. He was a little old grey fella, lovely.
Do you know what's great about them guys? They don't earn anything.
Nothing.
They don't do it. You know, that's the reality of it. The geezer at Hanwell Gym, you know, they don't earn any money from it.
Yeah.
You know?
And he was retired, lived around the corner, and he used to drive. I remember his car, he got a new, this was 1983, because he got a blue Mark III Escort.
Ooh.
And he used to drive in, and I was like, oh yeah. Anyway, I trained like a lunatic there. I loved it, and I would spar with anyone. Again, not because I was tough, because I wanted to learn. And I liked that combat because it's just you with someone else. You look at him in the eye, or if you didn't, however you fought, and you could do really well. You know?
Did it feel like, it sounds to me, for you, it was more like it was discovering how to do it. It wasn't like the fight. It was like you want to go, and it was the like the chess game kind of. Do you play chess?
So no.
All right, because it sounds like it was like, you know, how I can kind of, you know, move that and you know what I mean.
And
it
the
was
reason
always
being, I think, because I was so anxious as a kid. I had quite an anxious upbringing, and I had moments where I felt real intimidation and real fear. So I was hyper alert. Like I would sleep with my school uniform on and a brick next to my bed in case something happened. I could put it through the window and get out. Or
why was that?
No idea. There was some stuff that went on that's, you know, that put me in that position. So I was always ready. Should have gone in the army. Really. I was always ready, reading people's physicality, reading their emotions. And
funny, me too.
Always
Mate,
hypersensitive.
Weird,
yeah, like proper. I could walk in the pub and I could put money on the table to tell you who's going to start trouble. Or who's got an undercurrent of something going on.
Do you go in places still and check out like where the exits are and all that? Do you do that? Do you like scan the room?
Not in an anxious manner.
No, but like
But I will do sometimes. I can switch it on and off.
Yeah.
Like I can be proper, totally hypersensitive to loads of stuff. Like when I drive, it's like when I said to you about finding my way here. My missus is funny. She's like, "You're so weird. You describe things by buildings." Like I could tell her mum how to get to my house. Where are you in the car? And I'll visualise where she is to what building, numbers and stuff, and bring them in. So I can do if I'm in a fear position. But I tried to stop doing it because it was part of that anxiety.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good to have your body under stress like that.
No, and I was like that a lot.
Yeah.
Like I'd always be looking over my shoulder, not anyone was there,
too.
but I'd be sort of walking home, seeing who's what.
Yeah,
and it's not.
It's tiring, isn't it?
Or exhausting.
It really is.
Yeah.
And
be good soldiers.
Yeah, but mine was tinged with an anger. It doesn't sound like yours was.
No, mine was fear.
Right, mine was always. I think my go-to emotion, if I'm scared or whatever, is anger. Even now, it's weird. If I don't know why it is. If I'm scared, I'm angry. I get a bit angry.
It's a perfect defense system.
Yeah, I don't want to.
So it's what I used to be when I was younger, when I was a teenager, and I would go from 0 to 100, nothing in between, because I found that uncomfortable space where you got to talk about it. Yeah. So I've worked very hard to have conversations about it. But the boxing
me too.
It was funny because whenever I had a competition, I would be so anxious. I remember having a fight. I had my first 7 fights. I won all 7, and 5 before the time.
Wow.
And it was just, I had a hard punch, and I like I said, I studied it, and I really
explosive
enjoyed it.
As well, yeah.
But I felt a bit guilty. I would let someone hit me first, so I kind of was like, okay, well, you've hit me now, I can hit back. So there was an innocence about it. And then they put me in to the British Championships, and I'd only had 7 fights, and I boxed this kid, Joe Redden from West Ham, who had 64 fights, I think, 62. Proper
That's a
fight.
huge difference as well.
Round the corner in York Hall.
Wow.
And it's funny because I was on the bag about 2 years ago at a gym, and someone said to you, Paul Sculfor, I was like, yeah, and he knew him. And I actually
and he remembered him fighting it.
Because I, as far as I remember, it was on the cards, and it was the semi-finals, and whoever won had to fight again that night. And I remember my old lawyer saying, "You're not going to outbox this kid. You got to fight him properly."
Right, you should have a
so
towel.
we did,
so
yeah. So we did, and I think I put him down twice in each round. And he was brilliant. He was a brilliant fighter, but I hurt him, and he couldn't go through to fight that night. So the other guy got a bye and won the whole thing without even fighting. And I was devastated because really, it was a bit of an uproar because I did win the fight, but because he was from a big family from the East End and from Repton.
Oh, so he won, right.
He won, but he didn't win. And he couldn't fight through the other night. So
mate,
it was my first experience of politics in boxing.
Repton
and
as well, that's a place.
Yeah, and they wanted me to box there. I didn't because it's funny, I like the underdog. I like to have a little club. I just liked it. I trained harder. I never wore all the flash gear. I just wore like trainers and shirt and stuff. But because I like the inner
spit and sawdust.
stuff.
That's what it's all about. That that was, and that when I had my gym, we tried to keep a bit of that, but still have it nice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I don't think it should be too nice a gym. I
no,
still
because you
now
get distracted
like
in gyms
and
now.
I still now like weights and stuff. I still like to go in a gym that's just hot, a bit dirty, just horrible wet, like
it's the smell for me.
Yeah.
So I've been to all the nice gyms and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's great, and it's,
Yeah.
you smell Chanel fragrance or whatever
Yeah.
stuff, but I like the
Me too.
old, smelly,
Yeah.
leather, hardcore gym. I just train properly, and I train for me because people train for themselves in those gyms instead of training for other people. As in, look at me, what I'm doing.
I think that's why I've never had a personal training, so I don't want them. I don't like them talking to me.
Yeah.
I don't really like people talking to me in the gym.
Friendly then, Jane.
Mate, I'm probably the most fucking
I don't mind.
I don't. I'm just like I'm a bit of like that dog. Just leave me alone.
Did you ever go to? I tell you where I used to go. I used to pay $2.50 in Brooklyn when it was not a place to go to Gleason's gym.
Oh, never been.
It was down in Dumbo,
Oh,
and I remember this girl. In
Dumbo.
there.
I was there recently. Not
So
recently.
it's lovely now.
Yeah.
She had a tattoo of Brooklyn down her face like that, and she'd walk in and say, "Hey, who wants to fight? Who wants to fight? Who wants to fight?" And everyone would be like, "No, we're okay." It's a mad gym, but it was really good.
Yeah.
And they had I think they had 108 world champions on the wall.
Don't.
And it was just the lovely, that dirty leather smell on the heart. It was great, man. Really enjoyed that.
I do love the fight. I mean, I do love the fight. Were you into MMA? You like it? Not at all.
I am, but I just...
You're a boxing purist still.
No,
probably
not really,
no.
I liked it. No, listen, I've got a black belt in a martial art too.
Have you?
And I did Tang Sudo at school, but I didn't like it because it was too formulated. I got up to orange belt or whatever, and I gave it up. But when I went to California the second time around in around 2005, I studied Pakwa. Did it for 5 years.
Pakwa? What's Pakwa?
Oh, you'd love it. Look it up. It follows the Book of I Ching, Book of Life,
Right.
which was written 3,000 years before the Bible, apparently. And it's the way of living. So it's changing your food to the environment. You have 8 forms. So you can do acupuncture in it. You can do Tai Chi. You can do fighting. You can do gymnastics. You can do swords, bows and arrows. But it's all done in a kind of meditative
the sound of
state.
this shit. I like.
Yeah. So if you're doing bow and arrow, you'll do a beautiful turn and focus and do it. So it's all about
Okay, I love the sound of it.
releasing, letting go, the opposite to being anger and stuff, because you burn so much energy when you're angry.
Remember
It's
that
about-
anyone fighting out there?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I mean, you see kids in the gym fighting, you'll be like, you've got 30 seconds of energy left, mate, because you're like,
That's
damn.
why the steroid heads are good for a minute, and then
Yeah. So it was a really wonderful discipline to learn.
I'm gonna look that. Yeah, I'm gonna.
That's
look that
amazing.
Up.
Yeah.
Pakwa. How's
North Hollywood Pakwa was the one I went to. The guy
Really?
brought it over. He was somehow in a jail or something I forget the story. He was a South American guy in jail with this Chinese fella, and he taught him how to move and do the whole thing and keep his energy up and change his chi around and stuff like that. And he brought it back, and then he came to California. My master, her master was the main guy there, and he brought it over.
So what one did you do all of them, or did you?
No, I did a few. I wanted to do the Tai Chi because I didn't understand it.
I
and
really
thought,
want to get.
see these people moving around slowly. Is that it?
Yeah,
But
I really want to
actually,
get into
it's
that.
amazing. The levels, the discipline, what
really
you
wanna get
feel and
into it.
sense,
Yeah.
and get to learn how your brain works, especially if you're an anxious person, to marry it up or to do different things. And you do shadow forms, the movement follows the breathing, and it's really.
Do you still do it now?
Incredible.
Do you still practice, like try and do it in the morning?
Yeah. My wife says not enough, but I do. I did it. You know what? It's a shame because
Is there anywhere over here?
there's one guy who came here and he moved to Cambridge,
Okay.
but I think he was more swords and stuff.
I
But
don't get that.
It was a little strange because I was so close with the guys. I went back and did a little bit with them, and they're like, "Why don't you just open here? Because you can do it here." But I felt guilty because when I got my belt, I'd moved back here, And really, a black belt, they're only black because of Westerners. So before, a black belt really come from if you used your belt for years, it would discolour over the years. So it meant that you've done it for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so it only means that you've done it, and then that's when it starts, a black belt starts. So I do practice things of like, so if you're having a situation, say it's a hostile situation with somebody, and you like, I want to get out of here or whatever, or you're stuck on a resentment with someone, in that discipline, you can move yourself around 8 times to look at it in a different perspective. So it's a really good mental and emotional discipline as well to say, this is how I see it, but what if I looked at it from that view? And what if I looked at it from that view?
I like the sound of this
very
one.
cool.
I don't want to play golf. You know what I mean? I don't. But then again, I don't think I can. I don't think I can do MMA full time again because I think
there's a lot of injuries, mate.
It is, but I also, as soon as I start doing it again, I think I'm lively again. Think I can have a fight, and that's my problem. I feel like there has to be an end goal to it, or I'm like, it's just a bit weird. It's difficult for me, and you know.
That's the thing. What's good about it is to turn it on. Is to turn it inside.
Yeah.
To see what you can do and how you can still do stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm going to start. You know, like boxing training. I said to myself 2 years ago, I want to get back on where I can do 10, 12 rounds on the bag properly at my age without being burnt out. And I did it, and then I had, I told you I had an operation, so I'm just starting again to do it. But it's not for anyone, it's for me.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's one of the things that I'm most frustrated about is my shoulder injury, and just my shoulders. They're better, but if I tear it up a bag or I just
Tai Chi Qigong would be really good for.
Well, I want to do Qigong. Yeah, that's a big thing I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm
laughing because I went to there's a little guy. He's not little. He has a little practice, and he's called Dr. Ying Zhu. And there's a little practice on Whitfield Street.
Where's
just 2 beds. It's by Warren Street Station.
Oh right, yeah.
And I went to a little acting school next door. And I'd hurt my back, I'd crashed a motorbike, and I was in trouble.
Yeah.
And I was going to see a doctor on Harley Street, and they was trying to carry me to the thing, and I was like, I was in bits. So they took me into him to lay down. And he's like, oh, no problem, I'll help you. I was like, don't touch me, I am in so much pain right now. He goes, no, I'll help you. Laid me on the bed, put some needles in me, did some Qigong, and I was like, I'm not so much painful. He said, you want to come back? I said, yeah, I'll come back tomorrow. Saw him every day, 15 days. And I was up and walking around. I was like, wow, what is this stuff? So I did some Qigong with him. And he's like Mr. Miyagi, right? He's really low key.
That's what I want to learn from.
I'm so lovely.
Oh, I get so romantic about it. I really
honestly,
do. I'm like,
it was amazing. And I'd turn up at 8 o'clock in the morning, just me and him. We'd have a little tea ceremony. And some days I was stressed, and he'd be like, we're not doing it, we'll paint. So we'd get the pens out and we'd paint Chinese. I'd just follow him doing Chinese letters.
What?
To take you out of yourself. Yeah. And I'd leave there all amazing.
All cool and mate.
But he said to me, he goes, you've got to do your telomeres, your nerve endings, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
they do a lot of testing about that now, telomeres.
Do they?
And all, yeah, they test your anyway, but go ahead.
So he's like, press-ups on your fingers, and he'd show me first. And he could be 68, I don't know. And he'd just do these press-ups, and he'd be talking to me, going, yeah, no, you've got to do this. And I'm like, yeah, cool, sure. Jump down. After 3, I'm like turning white, like passing out. And he's like, okay, have sugar water. I think, okay, get me sugar water. Because I was literally passing out. Sat there for a minute and thinking we was going to have a rest. He's like, okay, now go back. Because it's about busting your ego. Just to keep doing it through the pain and through what you think's your limit. It's really amazing to do.
I like the sound of this guy, man. I swear really I got this real romantic thing. When I was young, I remember sitting in my bedroom in my council house on the estate thinking, I want to go to China and learn like martial arts. I want, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I didn't do it. And it's not a regret because I might not be where I am now and I'm happy, but I'm like, I still have that in me where I want to go somewhere and train, immerse myself in it. And I think that's why I got into, MMA and stuff and jiu-jitsu. But I think I want to go somewhere for like 6 months and just absolutely immerse into it. You know what I mean? And just be taught by some little
people here like that. I mean, he does teach. He does teach. So
interesting.
I mean, after stuffs when we can get out more. He was doing weekend classes, but he's a good person to go to.
You going to go to him still? Do you think?
I would do, yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I think we should do it.
I love the way we've talked about fighting and nothing to do with +1 in Rugby.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what? That's the beauty of what this is. Because I'm like, I don't want to put a limit on what to talk about or a thing to talk about. I just like it to go wherever it goes, and that's the thing. Because it's like it's just a chat. Then it's not like, you know. It's not like me just constantly asking you questions or whatever, or, you know, we're stuck on one thing. So I want it just to be about whatever.
Nice.
But we've talked about all sorts of different things.
Except for motorbikes.
Well, now we need
6 hours of conversation.
Well, let's get into your love of motorbikes then. Where did that come from? Did you steal motorbikes when you were young like me and ride around woods?
I didn't hear the question. So a friend of mine had a little Baron 50.
All right.
And someone else had an Italjet. And I've always loved motorbikes and cars. So if you ask my dad, I could tell you he had a Vauxhall Cavalier GL. And they used to have a black panel on the back. And the L had a silver one. So I would name cars what it is going along all the time. So all I used to do is name cars, bikes and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, you got to stop doing this. And this isn't some weird thing, but it's exactly what I used to do. Me and my cousin used to sit in the back of his dad's car and we'd be like, oh, that's a Bloomin', that's a Ving. And I could name any car. Yeah. Any car.
Me too.
That is insane.
In under a sheet or just seeing a little bit of the wheel.
Yeah.
That's a P35 Rover.
That's mad.
Yeah, just weird.
Yeah,
I think it was just probably a distraction for myself. But always loved that. I was always the kid that had, I think we didn't have much. So my dad, I wanted a skateboard. Everyone had the skateboard. They had like the plastic ones and stuff. He got a plank of wood, right? And we had the little roller skates that was red and metal with red straps. And he took them apart and drilled them into a bit of wood. And that was my first skateboard. That's not good. That's not good for kids going outside on the street. No, but but you know what's good about it is that's what I had. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You know, and trust me, now it's been great because I've done the private jet thing and all the other stuff. But I'm grateful for that because I've worked for everything I've had and achieved and the experience I've had. And for him, imagine being the father who has to get a plank of wood, saw it, and drill wheels on it so that your son can have a skateboard when everyone else has got grip tonics and stuff like that. So it must have been really hard for him. But he's a grafter and he works really, really hard. And we've always had a house that he paid for, and his dad never was in the council house because he'd done his money on drink and gambling. So, you know, that's why I love my dad and I have respect for him, even though we had a collision along the way a lot of times. I get it now as a father, especially, you know. Yeah. So, I just wanted speed. So, skateboard. I stole my mum's fridge door because I didn't have a sledge. So I took the fridge door off because we had a hill near us in the sink, and I was like on the fridge door. My parents
she
like,
was
what
like,
are you doing?
What?
Yeah. So I'd been inventive, you know, and I didn't care because it's just what we had. Yeah, it was fine. Yeah. And so I've always liked the bike. So my father was like, "You're never having a motorbike." He had two friends that were killed by him.
My mum said that to me as well.
Ever. He's like, "It's not you, it's the others."
Sorry, Mum.
And I was like, "No, I'm going to have a motorbike. I need to have one, so I'm going to have one." So I saved up for my milk round, and I saw in the local shop a step through 90, which is a C90 Honda.
I know, yeah.
Right? No clutch.
Classic.
Yeah.
The 90 as well. That was, yeah. Mate,
so I got the ones. I went and got some paint. I camouflaged it. I still have a picture of the day.
I love
camouflaged it, left it behind my dad's shed so they couldn't see it, and I'd slip off. And I learnt to ride properly. I would hang that thing out like a dirt bike on the fields, and I learnt to ride how you shouldn't learn to ride, properly, so you get no fear. And that bike I had for ages, and I sold it. Someone said, "Do you want to sell it?" I sold it for more money than I bought it for. So I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll bet another one." So I found another one for sale. It was only a 50. Bought it, cleaned it up, and put it straight back in the paper and sold it for double. So I was like, "This is interesting." So then I bought another bike, a little I think it was a YZ or TZ, little dirt bike.
Okay, yeah.
And then I bought another dirt bike. Then I bought a go-kart, and my parents was like, "What is that?" Because they still didn't know about the motorbikes, so they took it back. Well, basically, they come home from work and I was going down the street like a loser.
Like council estate.
Literally, smoking around.
Yeah.
And we was lucky. We lived in which is a nice sort of Victorian town.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a nice little joint. But
Until
anyway,
you were driving up and down the
until
road
I
in
was
a go-kart.
I made it.
Yeah.
Like the council estate. Anyway, I started buying and selling. And my dad came home one day and he found a pile of cash. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Ooh.
I was like, "What do you mean? I'm working with milk round." He's like, "Come on, that's like 6 years' wages. Like, what are you doing?" So I said, "I'm buying and selling bikes." They said, "Do you have one now?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Show me." I used to hide at my friend's garage. So I took him up there. And he said, "What are you doing with this?" And I said, "Well, I've been riding it every day." And he said, "Show me." And I was pulling wheelies and showing him. And he saw how much I really liked it. He goes, "Okay, it's fine. I'll help you if you want to do a business." So he would drive me to pick bikes up and sell them. So in the end, because he saw I was going to do it anyway. So in the end, I just started buying and selling them, and I used to race them and mess around and always have the engines out, change the tanks, and absolutely loved it. And then I started to do cars when I was sort of 16, 16.
Nice.
I bought a 3 litre E Mark 1 Capri, chocolate brown, full length sunroof, and it had a 3.1 RS engine in it. And the guy hit a lamppost, and he'd got the insurance. So I said, "Do you want to sell it?" And he's like, "Fine." So I bought it off him for 100 quid or something. Straightened it out, like not you're supposed to straighten out, like tie it to a tree and reverse it as much as you can to pull it straight. And that'll do that straight.
Yeah, happy days. Don't worry
Did
about
that,
it.
then broke that car and had a private plate. Then bought another one, and then on the 4th car, my dad found out I had these cars, and he's like, "Okay, now you can't have them because you can't drive." But we lived near a private field that we used to get the cars on, and we'd drive them around there. So again, I learned to drive. Like crazy stuff we was doing. So it just started like that. My love started like that of cars and what I could have. And I remember going to
what's been your the top of the tree car you've had? What's been like the one that you wanted and you got?
I found I've been in all. I'm really lucky. I've had some seriously nice cars.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff
you've
like
worked
that.
your ass. You haven't. Let's not play around. You know what I mean? You worked hard for it.
Probably a Shelby Eleanor was the favourite.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
When you're in America.
No, over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Here, and then the friends shipped back a GT 500 as well, 67, which is really nice. But it was a 3-gear automatic.
Right.
The Shelby was done properly, had proper 5-speed box. Yeah. I think it had 760.
Anyone don't know, the Eleanor is from Gone in 60 Seconds, the film. But yeah, what a weapon!
Amazing car. But 2 cars which I really loved was when my grandfather died, left me some money to get a car, and I bought a 1986. It was a rare, dark, shiny. It was like a crystal blue XR3i. It was the first ones of the eyes instead of the XR3, and it had like. It was like Alcantara style interior. It was amazing. I can smell it now. And I bought it at my birthday in February when it was snowing. And the guy said, "Well, just come back for it next week." And I'm like, "No." I dug out his drive, dug out the cul-de-sac that he was on to get this car because I had to have it. Mate, there was that one because it was
tell you what, they're worth some money now.
Yeah, they are.
All the fast Fords are worth money.
They are, especially the Mark II RSs.
Yeah.
And then I bought in 95, they made a BMW in British Racing Green, again with Alcantara and carbon fibre. It was only left-hand drive, but it did the GT3 lightweight. And that car was insane. It was amazing. It was honestly one of the best cars I've ever had. That I loved. That was before everyone had carbon fibre and had aluminium doors, boot, stuff.
Mate, yeah.
Really
that was
incredible car. That one was probably
I could talk about cars and bikes with you all day. Yeah. But I think we're gonna have to wrap it up because you've got to get off and get back to the kids and that. But yeah, listen, mate, just blown away. Absolute honour to have you, and we didn't even get into hardly any of it. Really,
no
we
clothes,
could
no fashion.
we could literally talk for hours. But you know what? It's been an absolute honour and pleasure to have you. So thanks so much for coming, buddy.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate. Done, dude.